Fantasy Rap
with Austin and Ozzy.
Oh, I just love those boys.
Hey everyone, this is Fantasy Rap, and I'm your host Ozzy.
And I'm your co-host Austin.
You can find us on fantasyrap.com. That is fantasywrap.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the follow-up to Week 14. How'd you do?
Don't want to talk about it.
Doesn't want to talk about it.
No.
He beat the living bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
I don't want to say only because, but mainly because it's a it's a super flex.
Yep.
So we have the opportunity to play two quarterbacks, and I had none.
Yep.
So I played Danny DeVito, who didn't see the field.
Which is surprising how horrible. Was he still injured, or was he?
No.
He was a go.
Yeah.
I mean, with how bad the Giants were this week, it's actually kind of surprising.
Yeah. I would have switched it up, but what do I know? And then I had to play a long shot wide receiver in that super flex spot, so it just didn't work well. But other than that, so I lost that one. I lost the one that I've been struggling in all year, but I made the playoffs.
Yep.
At 5-9.
Lucky.
I will be in the playoffs. Well, 6 of 8 teams go,
Yeah.
which is kind of, in my mind, a little crazy because, you're giving 2 of the bottom 4 teams a chance at winning the championship. They don't belong there.
I would be, if I was in first place to get that first round bye, and if I'm a one and done in that second round, and it's to the team that's barely squeaked in, I would be
to the team
pissed.
that's 5-9.
Woo,
baby. So I'm actually picked to win this week. So I told you I have a decent team. It's just whether or not. Let's see. I played Bucky Irving, and Bucky Irving got hurt, and it doesn't matter. If they're on that team, they're either playing poorly or they get injured.
Yep.
I picked up Isaac Garendo, and he got injured.
Yeah, had a great game though.
Yeah. And then in the one that really didn't matter, because even though I am 11-3, I will not be getting. I didn't win our division because we were 11-3. We were both 11-3. We split the 2 games during the season. We had the same record in the division. Within the division, we were both 5-1. And we were both 8-2 in the conference. So it went to points scored.
Yeah. Well, I guess you guys had split, so yeah.
Yeah, we all of those tiebreakers we went through, and he had more points, so he gets the extra $25. I get the harder draw. He gets the easy draw because he and I were 11-3. Next closest, the one that won the other division was 10-4, and then 8-6 team.
Okay.
I think an 8-6 team. So that's our conference, and that's going to be tough. I'm already picked to lose by 20 points.
Jeez.
So I'm probably done there.
Yeah.
But it was a good run.
So I guess I'll talk about it. So like you said, beat you again. No quarterback. Pretty bad turnout from your running backs. So
Yep. Well, and CMC is injured.
Yep, that too. So, and then in the other dynasty, that was week 1 of the 2-week cumulative.
Right.
I actually think I put up quite a bit of points in that one too. So, our projection for the 2 weeks is still pretty close.
Oh, good.
But I'm off to a good start in that one.
Yeah.
And then in Yahoo, had to win and in. Well, I was in 6th, so it was win and stay in 6th, or move up to 5th or something. But team just fell flat on their face. It was a pretty pretty rough locker room talk after the game last night.
Bucky
that
and
I
Will.
had with the team. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Bucky Irving getting, between Bucky Irving and Will Dissly getting 5 points, only getting 8 out of AJ Brown, which I just cannot. It's so frustrating watching the Eagles because, it's working because they've won like 9 games in a row or something like that. But Jalen Hurts in that game multiple times looked at AJ Brown, who was wide open.
And threw somewhere else.
The touchdown that Hurts threw to Devonta Smith, he made that so much harder than he needed to because AJ Brown ran a slant. The defender was stuck. And AJ Brown's there, and you can watch Jalen Hurts look at AJ Brown, not even pump fake, but you can kind of see him like he's going to start his throwing progression, and then just tucks it, runs around a little bit, and then throws it to Devonta Smith.
I heard they're not friends anymore. So
yeah, I saw that too. But again, it's if you're AJ Brown, what do you do? They're winning games.
George Pickens it.
Well,
you whine and cry.
Well, when he was
you
with
act like a
Tennessee,
Sally.
When he was with Tennessee, they were bad. So of course, yeah, you're going to be like, we're not winning anything. Just give me the ball. Let me get my stats so I can go and get another contract. Right. But now they're winning. But I was talking with my buddy Isaac Sunday night, and I said, what's going to happen if Philly doesn't get a first round bye? I think Philly's going to be a one and done in the playoffs. Because the team is going to just absolutely sell out to stop Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. He just refuses. And I don't think he's that good of a passer. The last 3 games he's been sub 200 passing. Like this game. Really they almost lost to Carolina.
Right.
Jalen Hurts threw for 108 yards.
Yep.
That's it. But, he's got 15 rushing touchdowns or whatever, because, of a language, but a bullshit trick play, so whatever.
It happens. I'm going to sit AJ Brown this week in my Yahoo League.
So,
yeah. It's not a good matchup, and I've got better options and watch him go off for, have a monster game.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I don't think it's going to happen.
So moving on to our injuries, we start out with poor Jonathan Brooks.
He was looking so good. Last week looked like, the limited that he had looked really good, and then, it was the same ACL and that knee that he tore in college. So, he's still super young, so should be able to come back, but it's, I think it's, you were like, well, he's probably going to miss some of next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they just say, we just signed Chuba to an extension, and let's just take it and let's plan for 26.
Yeah. I look at it, and I so badly wanted to draft him in Dynasty.
Ooh, yeah, that Dynasty, that hurts too.
Yeah. He was a first-round pick, and he didn't make it to me, and I ended up taking that receiver from Jacksonville, Brian Thomas Jr., who's having one of the best seasons of a non-QB rookie. So he's done for the year. He's done for a good portion, if not all of next.
Yeah,
next year.
So Chuba is the last man standing on that roster right now. They literally have no other running backs right now. So they'll probably try and sign somebody off the street,
or off a practice squad.
Or that too. So I just, Chuba and Carolina, like we've said the last 3 weeks now, have been playing actually pretty good football. Bryce Young actually looks halfway decent.
Yeah.
What a turnaround. Had a pretty good game. Tommy Tremble scored, tight end for Carolina. I think this is the second week he scored in. Yep. So, Chuba's last man standing. So he's going to be like he was, of course, before Brooks, the true workhorse, getting 100% of everything. So.
I think I had dropped him too in my Yahoo League. Next up, we've got Aiden O'Connell. He had a leg injury, unknown. how long he might be out. I mean, they're just
I'd heard some maybe not whispers, but I'd heard a couple things saying probably season ending.
yeah.
So
That's what I kind of heard too. But
which the Raiders with that loss clinched the number 1 pick so far.
nice.
So right now they're sitting in first for that first overall.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind
And
of
I guess they
interesting.
haven't. I guess they were not. They've not mandated that they're taking a quarterback. So they may. Well, I mean, there are guys out there. There
That's
are the
true.
Daniel
There-
Joneses.
yes.
There are the Minnesota Darnolds.
Yeah.
There are quarterbacks out there.
Yeah.
Malik Willis.
But just with that roster, and you got Brock Bowers, so if you can pair him with, but again, there are a couple quarterbacks coming out this year. Obviously you got Sanders from Colorado, and you got Quinn Ewers from Texas, which he's actually looked bad the last couple times.
Yeah, you've got
he's
that
played.
other kid. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some should be decent quarterbacks. It's just having that one overall, you got to make sure you hit if you take that quarterback, which is the odds have not been that great.
And I don't know that. I don't know that. I mean, personally, I don't know that I would take a quarterback number 1
Yeah,
with who's the other guy from Colorado, Travis Hunter
Travis
out there.
Hunter, yeah,
I mean, Travis Hunter is potentially a true two-way player in football.
yeah.
He is. It's funny. They don't list him as a wide receiver or a cornerback. They list him as an athlete. He's an ATH. He's an athlete.
So he's Taysom Hill 2.0.
I think he's a lot better than
2.0.
Taysom Hill. Yeah,
Sorry, 5.0.
times 5. I mean, Taysom is the kind of guy you can put him anywhere on offense.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
Travis Hunter, you can put him offense or defense, and he'll be able to play. I'm guessing you could probably use Hill at linebacker.
Yeah. He's a big dude, quick,
Yeah.
smart.
No,
Yeah, good.
he's a beast.
Yeah.
So
Well, and we know those Raiders love those super fast wide receivers, or athletes.
yeah.
Well,
Well, maybe they're going to actually sign Hill to be their quarterback. Next up, we've got Justin Justin Herbert, day-to-day with a leg injury, but, he came back.
Yeah, he played through it.
He said
when he came down, it was like, oh boy, because he was really grabbing right above the knee.
Yeah.
And I was like, uh-oh. And then it was, I don't know, a couple of plays later, he's back in there. So
Yep.
he's a tough guy.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Will Dissly. Unknown how long he might be out, but it probably is going to be at least a couple weeks shoulder injury.
Yeah, that's what I saw before I dropped him. So
He was your big play of the week.
he was, and the process was right because Kansas City's not,
they're one of the
bad
worst
against tight ends.
Yeah.
So, but another one of those where he had a catch early in the game, and then it was literally the last play before half is when he got injured. Caught one right over the middle for it was like 16, 17 yards or something. Got popped in the shoulder by the defender, and then was out. So
Yep. Next up, Demarcus Robinson, another shoulder injury. Unknown how long he'll be out.
yeah, I mean he's. He makes a play here and there, but
Yeah.
if that's the Puka show, holy cow, man, that was crazy
Yeah.
with Puka. I'm glad I traded for him in Dynasty. So.
Yeah, that is crazy. Next up, Derek Carr, hand and head. Sounds like foot and mouth disease.
Fractured his hand. It's his non-throwing left
Right,
hand. So
right.
at that point,
But
it's a pain tolerance, but you also have to be able to catch those snaps.
right, they're thinking he'll be out at least a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because I've actually heard that there's a good likelihood he won't play against the Packers in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So if you're still streaming defenses at this point, target
Whoever's
the Saints,
playing
'cause
against
they were
the Saints.
horrible earlier when Derek Carr was out.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Isaac Garendo. Of course, I had picked him up. I didn't play him, but he gets injured. He has a foot injury. Unknown how long he'll be out, but he is saying he'll be back this week. Coach is saying he's not so sure.
Yeah,
But
Garendo was like, "Oh, it's precautionary, and I feel great." And
But Shanahan
Yes.
He one of the most honest and sincere people when it comes to injuries, etc. Because he definitely is a fantasy football guy. I mean, he just
Look what he's doing with Deebo Samuel.
yeah.
Can't be mad about Deebo Samuel right now, can you?
It's yeah. So I mean, in that sense, you might as well go get
Patrick Taylor.
Patrick Taylor. Who is the other guy? There's another Ipagananda.
Oh, they signed Abanda Kanda.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Ibi Wakanda Wanda.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Abby Coan. Who?
I think his first is Israel. I think is his first name, but his last name's Abanda Kanda. He was a rookie last year. I think
the
the
band
Jets
of
had,
candy.
I think the Jets had drafted him. I was either last year or the year before. He's like a second or third year player.
Okay.
But he does actually fit that San Francisco, like Dorendo, big but lightning fast.
Yeah.
And San Fran's one of those where doesn't matter who's behind behind that line. Shanahan can scheme so well.
Yeah,
that
it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Doesn't matter who the running back is.
Yeah.
Although it's nice when you've got CMC there, but he's done for the season. So, although I heard he could come back and play in the Super Bowl.
They ain't making it.
Oh, they may not make the playoffs. You're right. Next up, we've got Bucky Irving. Of course, I started him. He played fairly well. But
For the first drive?
yeah,
Drive and a half.
back injury, unknown how long. Rashad White was getting a lot of
Rashad
work.
White had a really good week.
Yeah.
Because of the Bucky Irving, getting knocked out. It's on Yahoo with the updates and the player updates and stuff. They said that apparently it was precautionary for Bucky that he had some back tightness. So
okay.
Sounds like it's not like a major thing, but if it lingers, it hinders performance. But again, like I said, they got Rashad White where he can be that in spots be an actual good running back and not just a pass catcher.
Right.
So they should be all right. But you just like watching Bucky because he's just one of those guys that is just so quick and twitchy.
Right.
It's fun to watch him. So.
Right. And then I know I didn't put him on here, and he's not an offensive player, but one of my favorite new guys is DeMarvion Overshown. Overshown? Yeah, DeMarvion Overshown. He's a linebacker, a second-year linebacker for Dallas. And
I think I did see
he was out all of last year, I believe, maybe with a knee, and he tore his ACL, PCL, and MCL yesterday in the game, and he's out for the season. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's a show on one of the stations out there that talks about football players and stuff. They do the names.
Oh, Key and Peele. Or Key and Peele. It's a skit show, and they do the East-West Bowl, and it's all like the crazy names.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And they were doing, which one of these is a real football player? And one of them was DeMarvion Overshown. And I'm just sitting there going, DeMarvion Overshown? No, that's not a real name. So, but it is. And unfortunately, I mean, he was looking really good. He was like a second or a third round pick last year, was injured, I believe, pretty much the whole year, and was playing really well. But it's Dallas's season is pretty much goodbye.
Yep.
They have like no chance. So moving on to our studs. Surprise on the first one, Josh Allen plus 31.89 points. It was the Josh Allen show. 22 of 37 passing, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. 10 rushes, 82 yards, and 3 more touchdowns.
They won that game, right?
No, they lost that game. They lost that game. They put up numbers that, are unheard of, but gave up 2 more points. So, hurt me because I've got the running back, James Cook.
Yeah.
I'm sure it hurt other people too. I struggle with this because he thinks that he can put on a Superman cape and just win a game, and he didn't.
Close, but yeah.
I agree. I mean, I don't know that James Cook would have brought a whole lot more to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got behind. And once they got behind, he thinks that he needs to do everything. Yeah. So all of the runs are his, all of the passes are, I mean, it's just, it is what it is. I mean, I'm happy for him, but he put up 50 some points.
It's like 51.89, which is the highest since, if they had done it back then, was like 1950 or something, would have been that was the highest since like 1950 for fantasy points. So I saw somebody posted, it goes, Josh Allen is the first ever player to secure the MVP while losing the game.
Yeah. It's funny because someone posted a picture of their team, and they scored 300 and some points this week because they had him, they had Chase, they had Chuba Hubbard, they had Charbonnet, they had Addison, they had Nakua, and I just sat there and I was like, well, first of all, obviously it was a two-teamer.
Yep.
He and his buddy.
Yeah.
But
he scored 300. His buddy scored 285.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit off on some of the players, but it was one of these stupid scores. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they had a lot of players. They went with a quarterback, two running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, a defense, and at least one flex. Wow. So, I mean, it was, that's a mighty deep roster when you're playing that many people. Yep. Next up, we have the aforementioned Charbonnet, plus 22.3, 7 of 7 catching passes, 59 yards, 22 rushes, 134 yards, and 2 tutties.
So I think I'm going to just stop playing fantasy. I will only talk about it because I can't win anything. But this week, Brittany, before the game, she goes, should I play Braylon Allen or Charbonnet? I'm like, at first I was like, well, Braylon Allen. And then I went, oh, wait. Ken Walker's out. So I said, I would probably play Charbonnet. And she did. And
she won.
Yeah. A monster game, and then she also had McConkey, and then he was out, so I told her to pick up Palmer, and he actually had an okay game for a last second flex,
right?
So
a Monday night flex,
Luckily
I didn't leave him in my lineup anywhere.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, with the Charbonnet stat line, coming out of college, this, you were hoping for this.
Yeah, but he was drafted with Ken Walker.
Yeah.
I
remember that was one of those head scratchers where you were like...
Because Walker was there the year before, right? And then they drafted Charbonnet.
It was either that or it was the same draft.
I think it was 1 year after.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they drafted Charbonnet, and I'm like, but they already have Ken Walker.
Yeah.
But Kenneth Walker spends a lot of time on
bench or a sideline
injury.
Yes.
So, it's not a bad idea to have the two of them. Mm-hmm. So, next up we've got Jordan Addison, plus 21.89, 8 catches, 12 targets, 133 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And the funny thing is, who was 6th? JJ.
Yeah.
Because he had a big game. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately,
JJ started out slow. I mean, I was looking because the guy who I played in the Yahoo League, who I lost, but he also we were actually our projections were pretty even because he had left Addison on his bench.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I was like, and I put in the chat, I was like, hey, thanks James for not playing Jordan Addison. He was like, I think he was like, I hate my life or something like that. But then he ended up beating me pretty good because
he have
Jamar Chase.
Oh, he has Chase.
He has Chase.
Gotcha. Wow.
But, yeah.
That could have been deadly.
Yeah. So 40 points from Addison in that league, and then the 47 or whatever that Chase got last night was, that would have been... I mean, he put up 161 as it was, and it would have been
just
more.
Tickling almost 200.
Yeah. So, yep.
Yep, next up we have, the guy who was throwing the ball, Sam Darnold, plus 20.39. 22 of 28, 347 yards and 5 touchdowns, 4 rushes, 7 yards.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns. I was watching that game and I'm sitting there going, they had the ball that one last time and they handed it off to Aaron Jones. I was thinking that they were going to try for a 6 touchdown pass, which, it wouldn't have surprised me, but I think they're trying to rebuild the confidence in Aaron Jones after the couple of fumbles last week.
You can't hold on to the ball.
Yeah. So,
but Darnold, looked really, really good in that game. There were some throws where, he underthrew Addison on one, but Addison was like, it was a lot of that chemistry, that you could see. And like I said, Jefferson, his game started out slow because I looked on for Addison, and Yahoo, they got like a chat, like a kind of like a forum on it, and people are like, there's people on there being like, F this guy.
I should drop
this guy's I've got Justin Jefferson, F this guy, he's a bum. Why isn't he throwing to Jefferson? And then you go and look at the Jefferson chat and people are just, I'm going to lose now. And then JJ exploded, towards the end of the first half and then the rest of the game. So.
Yeah. I believe was it last week he played? He didn't have much of anything.
Darnold or JJ?
No, JJ.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's scary how many weapons they've got.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see because I read somewhere that someone's recommending that they tag Darnold for next year.
Yeah,
and keep him one more year.
I don't think. Obviously, if they tag him, there's really, unless Darnold were to just hold out. But I don't know. If he, does he start getting fined if he's on the tag and doesn't show up?
I don't know how that works, but why would you do it?
He wouldn't. I don't think he would. He wouldn't sign it.
No, why wouldn't you? It's still going to be like $35 million or something.
I think
for a 1 year
tag.
tag.
If they make a deep push and he keeps playing like this, I think he would get paid more if he went elsewhere.
He would.
Vegas,
he would.
If Vegas brought him in, or
and I don't disagree that he would get more, but it's like, why would you not take the money? Because all you're doing is you're wasting a year of then not making the money that you should have been making.
Yeah.
Why? Someone's going to pay you $35 million or whatever that number is. I don't know what the number is. Say it's 35, say it's 40. Actually, I think it has to do with the top salaries and what percentage and everything. So it might be closer to $50 million for 1 year.
Yeah.
Play it.
Yeah. I don't know. That sucks because you're in a situation next year where JJ McCarthy will be healthy. They've got Daniel Jones. Well, unless he
won't.
He jumps ship again and goes and signs.
There is already talk that someone could poach him off of the practice squad.
They could,
because if he's not signed to the roster,
the Raiders obviously.
No, not the Raiders. I've heard stories that he would be the perfect backup to Tua. Give them a decent backup for when he gets his next concussion.
I don't know. Tua's been playing really good too, though.
He has, but what do they have behind him? Skylar Thompson?
Yeah, and I don't even remember who else is behind him.
Yeah, your choices are not good. Mm-hmm. At least next year, if they wanted to tag Darnold and play him and keep JJ back there, JJ is the heir apparent. Mm-hmm. He, get in some reps and everything, work your way back, work on some techniques and stuff, get him learning, and that, I don't know.
I agree. It would, like I said, it makes sense from the Viking side to do that. But again, from Darnold, it's like, well, the tag, but I don't know. I think that's what's going to play.
Who was the guy for the Jets that held out for the first half of the season? The defensive end.
Oh, Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. How did that work for him, losing half of his salary? I don't get why you think that. Okay, so you're making $15 million, you're making $20 million, whatever the number is, you're making that. In the case of Darnold, maybe it's 45 or 50 million, and you say, well, I'm not going to play for these guys. I'm going to hold out. So you make nothing that year until week 8 or whatever, or 10, when you have to come back and sign it, or they can re-tag you for the same amount.
Yep.
And you've already lost, if it's $50 million, you've already lost half of that. Why are you willing to throw away $25 million?
Well,
And who's going to want to sign you after that bad attitude?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they said, hey, we're going to franchise tag you, either I think at that point he would probably have a pretty good idea what other teams would be out there and the number that he could get. So I think it would just come down to that number. I mean, it's a great spot for him, obviously, because
he's playing for $10 million this year.
Yeah, but Minnesota's a great spot for him because he's had a couple down.
But
weeks,
he's not.
But
he's not
really well.
going to be there more than one more year.
Yeah,
they're not going to sign him to a long-term contract and then not play JJ.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, at this point in his career, it's do you go for the, you have a team that's willing to sign you for the 3 or 4 years.
Well, yes.
With the guaranteed
money. But you take the $50 million, you play the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you still do well.
Yeah.
And you don't get injured.
That's what I said. That's
and you take out $1 billion life insurance policy on yourself, or injury protection. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the answer is, but I would play for the $50 million or $45 million or whatever. I mean, that's me. That's me being greedy.
But like I said, that's the flip. You go out and you get a $100 million guaranteed for 3 or 4 years. I mean, obviously the yearly breakdown is less than what you would play for that 1 year, but again, it's.
But you're going from $10 million, or 12 or whatever he's making this year, to all of a sudden making 45 or 50 million. It's a no-brainer in my mind.
Yeah,
you just made a ton more than you did this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Puka Nacua, plus 19.29, 12 catches, 14 targets, 162 yards, and a touchdown. Oh, but he rushed it 5 times for 16 yards and another touchdown. Makes you Kyron Williams owners happy, huh?
Kyron could have had 4 touchdowns in that game. He got poached by Puka.
Pooched by Puka.
And then they were down on the 5, and they had Blake Corum in, and they decided to hand it to him 3 consecutive times for -2 yards. So again, whatever at this point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
you're not in the playoffs, who cares?
Kyron could have had a monster game. But yeah, I mean, Puka's he's just so good. There was that catch that he had where he was in front of the defender, but then Stafford threw it a touch long and high, and Puka kind of did a swim move, went back, caught it, and landed inbounds, and then slid out of bounds. I mean, it was the body control and the hands.
Yeah, it was
and
the
everything.
Puka show.
Yeah, he's been so good now that he's back to being fully healthy.
Yeah,
and it's boosting that entire Rams team. I mean, their defense is nowhere to be found because, like we said, Josh Allen putting up the monster game he did. But if their offense can do that week to week, you don't really need a defense.
True. Next up, we go to our duds. Starting off with Jaden Reed, and we had already talked about him last Friday.
Yeah.
0 catches on 1 target for minus 10.51.
Again, going into that game, how do you not have even two plays that are manufactured to get the ball in his hands? I don't. That was just a failure on LaFleur and the OC. Yeah,
he pretty much is the OC.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, maybe one of his advisors.
Yeah. Next up, we've got T. Higgins minus.
Look, 3 of my players.
Minus 10.12, 2 catches, 5 targets, 23 yards. It's kind of hard to do anything when it's Jamar Chase going off.
Yeah, well, that's again, as a Higgins manager who needed.
Yeah.
I needed the inverse. I needed this to be Jamar here, and the other one to be T. For Dallas. I mean, Higgins or Chase ended up with 18 targets or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was 18 targets.
Yeah, probably because in the first, I was looking at it
in the first half,
3/4.
he had 11.
Yeah, I was
You
looking
know.
at it 3/4 of the way through, and he was at
Yeah.
like 14 or something.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
man.
it's, how do you not, you got to adjust to stop that. I mean, granted, and Dallas lost that game for themselves with that. They had the blocked punt, and then that bonehead came and tried to catch it, and it hit him. And then, since he recovered, and then Burrow and Chase hooked up for that like 40-yard touchdown or whatever it was,
Yep.
to win the game. But yeah,
Well,
Higgins,
and I kept on hearing, oh, they've got Diggs and Duran Bland. This is the
Bland
first
is
time they've
back,
been
yeah.
playing since week blah of blah. And, boy, this should really make a difference. Yeah, it made a big difference. Jamar Chase ran all
Burrow's
over him.
been playing out of his mind too. But with T. Higgins, I mean, it's your last season there. There's been a lot of reports in the last 2 days that apparently New England is going to throw.
Yep.
They're going to back up the Brinks truck for him.
Which is interesting because, I mean, he's a good receiver. I don't know that he's that good.
I think they're trying to pair him with, obviously they're pairing him with Drake May, who's had, shown flashes. They don't have a true alpha there, which if T. Higgins can stay healthy.
Keyshawn Boutte?
No. If Higgins can stay healthy, has shown that, he can do
Kendrick
that.
Bourne?
No.
No.
Jalen Polk?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So,
I mean, those are all, no.
Yeah, to have that game be as close as it was, to only have 5 targets for the 23 yards. I mean, there's the one I watched, he had the ball, the DB came in and, knocked it out.
Yeah.
That one, he held it out too long. He should have, immediately went to secure it. But, I mean, if I, was T, I'd be, again, that's another
be drunk.
one of those.
I mean, drank.
Yeah.
Drunk? Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where it's like, now it's my last season, do I really want to sit here and cry for the ball? And, when basically no matter, he's going to be probably, he's going to be the top, target in the receiver market coming up this season. So, it's, do I want to cry and throw a fit and do all this, or do am I just here, and if they need me, I'll be available, but,
I think he's been a good sport about it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's depressing when you're a decent receiver and you don't get what you'd hope thrown your way. Next up, we've got Bucky Irving minus 9.6, 1 catch on 1 target, 15 yards, 4 rushes, 3 yards, and then injured.
Yep.
So not much to say there other than I shouldn't have picked him up. I shouldn't have played him. He was great when he sat on my bench, so I should have just left him. Next up, A.J. Brown, minus 8.92, 4 catches, 4 targets, 43 yards. Compliments of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
His
I
best
already
friend.
Talked about it. I mean, that's, again, it's, what do you do? You're winning games. You know, if you're A.J. Brown,
you're winning ugly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they are winning ugly, but it's, hey, our, Saquon Barkley and our defense, that's been the recipe, and we're winning, and, if I get a ring, great, but, you don't, I don't know. I guess I would probably be a pretty big diva receiver if I was in the NFL. I'd be
You'd
like,
be a
dude, you get
very big diva.
Yeah.
I mean, you're twice the size of most of those wide receivers.
These days, yeah, some of those guys are pretty small. But yeah, I mean, AJ's got to, you got to at least have I'm sure he does, but you got to at least, sit Hurts down or corner him in the locker room to be like, dude, what I was open on. There are 3 specific plays in my mind that I remember watching. I mean, there was one
you're
that
the
should have been
godfather of my daughter.
Yeah, there was
Throw me the
one
ball.
that should have been a gigantic touchdown to A.J. Brown, and Hurts just decided, nope. I mean, he had the defender beat. The safety over the top was nowhere close. Could have been an easy pitch and catch, and again, Hurts looked at him and then just tucked it again and just dumped it off. It was just really frustrating, and so...
Yep. Moving on, we have James Cook, minus 8.6, 2 catches, 2 targets, 9 yards, 6 rushes, 20 yards, 8 touches.
Yeah. Well, they got down big pretty early.
Yeah,
The Rams
17-10.
were- Yeah, Rams were.
I mean, that's not big to me.
Yeah, but
It.
with how fast the Rams were moving and scoring,
Yeah,
you
every
know,
single time. But
you're like, oh, we got it's catch up mode. But again, Cook is a really good receiving back too. So
Yeah.
to only have the 2 targets is a little
right.
You figure a lot of those targets probably turned into those 10 rushes for 82 yards and the
Yeah.
3 touchdowns
Yeah.
for Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So
It is what it is. Hopefully he can turn that back around. Next, we've got our waiver wire. Jalen McMillan.
I would add him and just throw him on my bench if I had the the space for it. He's an interesting ad. He had the 2 touchdowns, but I think he did that pretty early in that game.
Yeah.
And then kind of disappeared after. So, but again, he's a rookie. Working on the chemistry with Baker, and then obviously Mike Evans is still there, and I think Bucky being out of that game did mess with their offensive flow a little bit.
Right.
Obviously, Rashad stepped up and had a nice game, but it's just a different offense when Bucky's not out there.
Right.
So.
Right. Next, I have Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, if he's not on the roster,
Yeah,
depending on the league, like
Right.
I said, your 18 league, I'm sure he's probably sitting out there. So,
Oh, yeah.
He's been
So
actually
is Jerry.
pretty good.
So is Jerry Judy. So
Which that one's crazy, but
there are all kinds of guys that in an
Yeah.
8-teamer. I was looking at on Facebook, one of the fantasy football groups,
Yep.
and someone put his team out there, and someone goes, "Oh wow, it was a work league or something."
Yeah.
Oh wow, is that a 6-teamer? Yeah. I struggle to admit that I'm in an 8-teamer because it's so ridiculous, and in my mind it's a little on the lame side. 6 is just, it shouldn't even allow you to do a 6-team league. So I could still get him. How about Isaiah Davis?
if Brees Hall is going to miss more time,
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Because Isaiah Davis actually saw, as I think, almost as much time, or maybe even more, than Braylon Allen. Which is interesting because Braylon Allen seemed to see more time when Brees Hall was there.
Yeah.
But when they let him be the lead back, then he loses a bunch of touches to Isaiah Davis.
Sounds like maybe there's somebody there in the Shanahan coaching tree.
Right. Wants to mess you up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Last one I've got is Tyler Algier.
Again, if he's out there, if you're the Bijan manager,
Yeah, go get
great
him.
hand. Probably one of the top handcuffs there. But again, this week obviously he had standalone value.
Yeah.
If you were to, if you flexed him or say you had injuries, if you're the Brees Hall manager and you had Algier, you were pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
With
He
that
actually,
swap.
I saw one of his runs and I was just sitting there looking at him going, how is he pulling away from that guy?
Yeah.
He's not fast. He runs with power,
Well,
but
that
he's
was-
not the quick scat
Yeah.
bag. He's the size of a fullback. He reminds me of Christian Okoye,
Yeah.
the Nigerian nightmare.
The end of Eddie Lacy, where he was starting to get big, but he was still somewhat fast.
Starting to get big.
Bigger than he already was.
He came out of his mommy at 210
18 pound
and then
baby.
just grew from there.
Yeah.
Eddie Lacy. I have an Eddie Lacy jersey.
You
and
got that Eddie Lacy
and-
signed
signed
canvas print that
yeah,
Brittany and I
yeah.
got you when he
Yeah.
was a rookie.
Yeah, I really thought, that was a guy who, had he not eaten everything that he saw, including some of the people that were around, he probably could have been a decent running back.
Could have been. He was great.
Yeah.
But then, he got big, and then the ankles started going on him.
You can't possibly...
His U-joints were blown out.
The ankles are not made to hold up that kind of weight. Why do you think heavy people, and especially, I'm not saying tall people are necessarily heavy, but heavy and tall, because tall turns into heavier because they're taller, the knees and the ankles, don't last with weight.
Yeah. There's
So-
actually somebody had posted a video pretty recently, and somebody saw Eddie Lacy just out somewhere, and they were asking him, they were talking about him, about his weight when he was playing, and he was just kind of like, you could see the look on his
So is
face.
he
It's
smaller
like,
now?
really- He does look like he's thinned out.
I mean,
So-
he's probably only like 35 years old. He could come back and play.
No.
I mean, he doesn't have any mileage on him. Because what he played 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
I mean, why did I have, why did I get those types of things like an Eddie Lacy jersey and a sign?
Well, like I said, his rookie season was
I know he was
great,
going to look.
and
He
then
was looking
looked
like he could
was-
be a stud.
Yeah, looking like
And he
was
could have
gonna
been.
have a good 6-7 year career where
Yeah.
he was a top back.
Yeah.
So
So I don't know if you had anyone else that you'd like to add to the waiver wire.
I mean, he had a good game this week, Juwan Johnson. I think we brought him up like a week or two ago, but that one too, if Derek Carr's out, I would stay
Yeah.
away because he had a really good game. Freiermuth, if he's out there, he's been involved the last couple of weeks too. Like I said, he's probably rostered.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's really about it that I can off the top of my head.
Okay.
So
Well, I guess I'll say good luck in your playoffs if you're in them.
and one.
I'm in 3, and I get a first round bye in one. So, which is why I didn't care if I lost to you
Yep.
this past week. Otherwise, I am Ozzy.
I'm Austin.
Have a great week.
See ya.